Welcome to Sous Vide Lifestyles. I'm your host, Jack Donovan. Today we are going to be playing with some liquid nitrogen. Now, liquid nitrogen is almost 300 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. So when you're using it, you need to be very careful to not hurt yourself. A couple of precautions that are generally suggested are some sort of eye covering, gloves. And the reality is that because of the latent hazard effect, and if you're careful, you don't need these every time, but for your first time, you definitely should have it. And you should always wear closed-toe shoes. When talking to an industry expert who provides liquid nitrogen to hospitals and doctors' offices, he says that the #1 injury they receive on the job are frostburn feet from people spilling liquid nitrogen. So you always want closed-toe shoes, preferably ones you can get out of quickly in the event that you spill a lot of liquid nitrogen. With that being said, to prepare your space, you want to make sure that you have some sort of hot pad, because the hot pad will protect your countertop from the cold just as well as it will from a hot item. And then a metal work bowl generally works well. This one's rather large because today we're going to be doing cryo frying. So with that said, in order to use liquid nitrogen, you need to have a dewar. This is a 20-liter dewar. These tend to be very expensive, which makes it difficult for them to be used by just anyone in the public. They can range anywhere from a few $100s to a couple of $1,000s. Ideally, you would want one that's smaller than this. 5 liters is generally the suggested recommendation from everything I've seen out there, which would be much easier to handle. However, since I'm a big guy, a big dewar works just fine for me. You can get liquid nitrogen at your local welding supply shop, Airgas, Proxar Gas. Pretty much if it has gas in the name, you can usually find it there. They will typically sell liquid nitrogen to the public. In America, there's no special permitting that is needed to possess or purchase liquid nitrogen. So it's very useful. All right, so now we're going to pour liquid nitrogen into our bowl to work with. It's always recommended that you work with a smaller container when you're dealing, especially with a large one like this. Now when pouring it, it's going to immediately evaporate, and so it's going to kind of go all over your counter and everything. And then, so what you need to do is blaze it up a little bit till it gets a little colder, and then you can start pouring more heavily to actually fill up the bowl. Welcome to Sous Vide Lifestyles. I'm your host, Jack Donovan. Today we're going to be making Dippin Dots, homemade Dippin Dots. So what we have here in this bowl is some liquid nitrogen, and we have some squeeze bottles here. So you choose the flavoring of your liquid. So in this case, I'm going to have some pomegranate. Pour some of that in. I really don't use exact measurements for this because it's more about the volume of Dippin Dots that you want to make. And then I have some orange juice. So we'll make some orange juice Dippin Dots. All right. So now that we got our flavor, you need some cream because Dippin Dots are fundamentally cream-based. If you are lactose intolerant, it is possible to make these without cream. They're just going to have a more of an icy texture to them than a ice cream texture to them. So you got some heavy cream. I just eyeball that. All right. Now we got cream that's kind of sweet. We got juice that is sweet, but you could always use just a little bit extra sugar. I tend to go a little light on the sugar because I don't really like things to be super sweet. But this is entirely up to your taste. All right, so now we have our cream, our juice, and our sugar mixed together, and we want to get it all nice and mixed together, so you just shake, shake, shake. All right, now that they're completely mixed together, You go over to your liquid nitrogen, and you just start pouring drops in. And then when you get impatient, you can start squeezing the bottle, and you'll get these like foam structures. And as you can see, even though these liquids were in the refrigerator and so are reasonably cold, compared to the liquid nitrogen, they are almost as warm as the deep fryer is. So the liquid nitrogen is evaporating more quickly as you put this in. Okay, so now we have frozen our Dippin Dots, and now we need to move into our container. So since I have all these big foam things from pouring it too fast, I like to break it up a little bit. And then just use some sort of strainer. Now this bowl is really cold, so you'll notice I'm just lightly touching it when I need to. And there we have orange and pomegranate Dippin Dots. Orange and pomegranate Dippin Dots. Notice how they're still evaporating. That is because the liquid nitrogen has gone inside some of them and needs to warm up a little bit. Liquid nitrogen expands to 200 times its size when it goes to vapor. So if you put a lid on this right away, your container very well might pop open again and hopefully not explode.